Welcome back to Edward James' almost third favorite podcast about TV. It's Pilot Pass. This week on the show, we venture out into the world alone as we discuss Last Man on Earth. So get out off your pool toilet and put away your masturbatory materials because away we go. Yes, another edition of Pilot Pass coming to your earballs on this fine and lovely day. My name is Matthew Pizana, co-host of this extravaganza. And alongside me, as always, is my co-host, Del. Don't call me darling, just call me by my name, Pullen.
I've actually changed it now. It's Del. Quit giving me nicknames without talking to me first, Pullen.
That is not going to happen. But what will happen is we will have a third member of the group today. As a treat for everybody, please give a warm welcome to our multi-time nominee of the Short Film Festival of Dallas, but never a winner, and co-host of a podcast about movies, Matthew Thornbury. Welcome to the show, Matthew.
Thank you for having
Matthew.
me. Hello.
Welcome again.
I know.
I did set you up to go off on the people that run the film festival in Dallas, but we'll save that maybe for later. First, I want to know
the film podcast. How about that?
Yeah, we'll save it for the film podcast, which is our Matt Men podcast that we do. But you brought us a glorious treat today to talk about Last Man on Earth. Since this is your idea, your show that you brought to us, will you tell us just a little bit about how you came involved with Last Man on Earth?
Well, I wish I was actually involved with it. I just watched it like everyone else, or like I should say, like all the cool people did. Because unfortunately, this show never really had, I think, great numbers. But I'm a huge fan of Will Forte. I think he is not a comedian for everybody, but he fills in a special part of my giggle brain that no one else does. And when I heard that he had a new show and it was called The Last Man on Earth, and you very quickly find out, he's not the last man on Earth.
Right.
I had to watch it. And my wife and I sat down and watched the dual pilot, because they actually aired the first two episodes back to back. Right. And I'm kind of glad they did, because it sucked me in. And every week we look forward to it. Every single week we look forward to it. And once it went off the air, we were incredibly depressed because it kind of ends on a cliffhanger. And it never got the respect that it deserves. And I think people are going to find this later on, and hopefully it'll get its due someday. Kind of like the movie MacGruber, and now he's doing a show, MacGruber. So
I don't know about that. We will talk about that.
He's doing a show?
They're doing a MacGruber show.
Good. Yeah. I love the movie. And I was gonna say, one of the things I think I like about Will Forte, you were saying he feels part of brain, is for me, he plays one particular type of character very well, and that is the lovable loser, the somewhat endearing. You kind of, he's a screw up. He's not great at anything. He's a fuck up, but he doesn't seem to realize that about himself. And he's still likable through all of his screw ups. And that's like every character he's done. He kind of holds that same basic lovable loser. He's the schlemazel of every show he's in.
Well, and more than that, I think he also, no matter what role he's in, he's kind of in his own world. And in his own world, his character is not a loser.
No, he's a winner in his own head. I guess that's a very good point. Yeah.
And what I love about this show is, even though like this show, it's not even so much he's a loser, he's just a regular guy. He's a regular guy, but compared to everyone else around him, he is a complete loser.
Well, hold on, because he is the last man on Earth, so I don't know what you're talking about. All these other people. Spoiler, jeez.
All you got to do is watch to the end of the pilot.
Yeah, right.
All you got to do is also go to the Wikipedia if you would totally want to run it.
Also, one of the greatest
IMDb.
One of the greatest casts ever.
Eventually, yeah, and you don't get to see that at the beginning, which is fascinating. Del, before we get too deep into Last Man on Earth, will you tell the people what the show is actually about?
Okay, so it begins in 2020 with a RV slowly patrolling around the United States, and it starts by saying 1 year after the virus or plague or something like that. So it was uncanny how close they got to what was going on in the real world, as we say from 2021 now. But you see a map slowly being crossed off. And it's clear that this RV is touring around, and you're assuming from the virus that this one person is hunting down at least some other people who may still be alive. You see him finally cross off all of North America and I was gonna say Canada, but Canada's in North America.
That's true.
And I like that the last place, this is a good joke for me to start with, is he pulls up to Utah and you finally see him cross out Utah and scream. So he went to every other state, other countries, and you can tell by the way that he marks them out, he's not going in any kind of order. He's driving from East Coast to West Coast, back to the center, up to, so anyway. And then it's revealed that Will Forte, who has been driving around all of America and Canada, collecting unique things now that humanity has kind of passed, and he's collected them all in his RV as he slowly makes his way, painting signs that say "Alive in Tucson."
Yep.
And heading to Tucson, Arizona to live out the rest of his lonely days, hoping to meet someone else, ideally a girl.
Fingers crossed indeed. I want to start right there. Let's talk about, if we were also in this situation, what one piece of Americana throughout the land of ours would you grab? So I want to start with Matt. What might be the piece that you would want the most?
Lincoln's hat.
Done and done. Love it. Del?
I would wear it all the fucking time.
Man, this is a toss-up. Either Bo Derek or Vanna White.
So it would be their bodies?
You know what? I think at some point you got to make some concessions.
Okay.
But Vanna White's about as American as you can get. So I think that's probably got to do it.
Well, if you get her, then I get Pat Sajak, and I guess we're all
okay.
Figure it out together. That's wonderful. So the pilot episode is a very short. These are 22-minute episodes. Like Matt said, they are a combo whenever they air, but we just want to focus on the first half of that. I think that that's fascinating how this story comes together. The Alive in Tucson is the name of the pilot episode, so give it up. They actually named the episode, which I'm very excited about.
Always nice.
I was wondering if that was going to get bonus points from you guys.
Always.
It always does. Yeah. In fact, we wanted at the end of the year, one of the categories is best name for a pilot, not titled pilot.
Yeah.
So, by the way, the part where he finds the bra, it like that pure cry. Oh, that's great.
This movie understands the human experience, or this TV show understands the human experience so well. I mean, you've been away forever, and then the one thing you come across is a female bra that smells like a woman. I mean, it's just got to melt your mind after you've been talking to inanimate figures for 2-3 years.
Well, let's go with that, because one of my favorite jokes was there's obviously, as the last man on Earth, there's this survivor mentality, which was done in the movie Castaway, which he fires up a generator and sits watching the movie Castaway, lamenting how unrealistic it is because no one would talk to a volleyball, and he just ridicules that. And then 8 minutes later, there's the scene where he's talking to the volleyball on the counter at a bar, in addition to about 18 other balls. So he's clearly gone to like a Dick's Sporting Goods, no sponsor, and got like, it's one of everything. There's even a shuttlecock, but there's like a racquetball, a tennis ball, a bowling ball, a basketball, a baseball. I can name them all. A football. Anyway, and I like that he's overdone. Like he can't just have one fictitious ball character to talk to. He has to have like 18 of them.
It's showing just how lonely and crazy he is,
and how long. At least he obviously got the first one.
At least Tom Hanks, in Castaway, like he knows that there are other people out there. And this, he legitimately thinks he's the last person. So he's completely gone. And by the way, you glossed over the funniest part of the joke where he's watching Castaway. Did you notice what he was wearing?
No, I'm sure. Was he wearing
Jordan's 23
oh, that's right.
jersey?
Yeah, I saw that. That's right.
I love that he takes these things that in any other situation would just be treasures that people would hold on to. And to him, it's like his nightshirt.
Well, he uses, I think the best one of that is where he uses the Constitution to wipe his mouth. He'd been eating something and he grabs the Constitution, just dabs it and throws it down.
I wonder if that was a play from The Simpsons.
I don't know, but there's like something like 7 actual copies of the Constitution. One guy found one in his attics, but so who knows if that's even the actual one that was in the Smithsonian? I would think so, since he probably knows where that one is. But yeah, there was like he's wearing Michael Jackson's red Thriller jacket at one point. He has a dinosaur skull. I wrote a few of these down. He has the Oval Office rug that he takes back to the home in Tucson. Yeah, he's been collecting. He has a Picasso. He has that he's dragging to the house, and I like that he's just hanging up all these works of art because no one else can appreciate him, so he might as well. But then he also just treats them like they're napkins and trash, like he doesn't care at all.
Gotta say, gotta love the fake out with Alexandra Daddario.
Oh yeah, I had completely forgot that she was part of the fake out.
From
that's
the
right.
Great
Yeah,
scene
that's right.
for
True Detective. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
The one of the things that I really liked about this show, just in general, is how it just completely switches. So we're 10 minutes, we're riding around with him, he's collecting all the stuff, and then he's talking to God, and he's like, you know what, I could do this, I don't need people. And then we just cut to 5 months later. And we've got a whole new story, and we've evolved through different things that he experienced. And this show just keeps doing that as it goes along. It just gives you a different direction as soon as you get comfortable in one spot.
Well, I think you don't. Otherwise, it would be a drama. The problem is if you see him work through all these events, it's not funny. It's the what do they call it? A crash cut, or all of a sudden I can't think of the term right now, but smash cut. There we go. Where that's the whole thing is you'll never catch me doing that. Smash cut to person doing that. Well, which helps keep it a comedy and fresh because you don't want to get bogged down in all the loneliness.
Well, I was talking with Matt about this before we started, but one of my favorite things about the show, not just the pilot, but the whole show is that I've never seen another show that over 4 seasons tonally doesn't change. Like it feels like every episode feels like the same show, but no other show changes as much from episode to episode because you'll be going along and they'll have like a half season long narrative. And then all of a sudden with no warning, it's just 6 months later. And like all of a sudden, there's a baby there or something, right? And things are different. And that kind of stuff is done all the time. And it really keeps the show fresh. And it kind of leads me also to the runtime. You mentioned it's 22 minutes, and that is, I think, probably the key to this show. If this was an hour-long show, it'd almost be unbearable.
But they do pair them up. That's what's weird too. Is so you get an hour of it, but it's written in 2-3 act structures as opposed to a full 3 or 5 act structure, which really helps because there's almost a reset in the middle of every episode to kind of give you a breather. And I think that really helps keep the tone light because this could very seriously be a drama.
It very well could.
The David Lindelof took to HBO or something.
There's no other show that feels like this, and it's a shame that this just didn't win every award.
I love what you just did there. You gave me my own transition, and the transition that I want to accept from you is we talk sometimes about what shows are like other shows, and I tried to make a list today, and I came up with nothing. I wanted to ask you guys, what shows are actually like this show?
That Chris Elliott show from the 90s? Maybe.
Get a Life?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what's funny is I've been watching that, and that's my Bush, the 2 shows that we talked about. I've literally been watching those again. And The Simpsons in reverse. Those it's weird. This one was really weird that it wasn't a drama. Obviously, things like I Am Legend and stuff like that are a little bit the idea of the Omega Man, the films. But none of them are like obviously a comedy lighthearted like this, and certainly not TV shows. Maybe the only thing was it Fox or something after Lost got big, there was a show where civilization collapsed and they could only run electricity for a few hours a day, but then you still had everybody, so it's not only a post-apocalyptic show, which usually has a lot of people in it, warring factions and stuff, but it's also a solitary show for a big chunk of it. Even as it rolls with a small cast, and there's not a lot of shows like that. Walking Dead might be the only show kind of like this in that premise, except that in this show, it's just nature and survival against nature.
Well, see, I don't even think that this...
you have active bad guys not only bad guys, but the zombies in Walking Dead.
Right. Yeah, I didn't mean to talk over you. I apologize. One thing that I really like about this show is that I was going to say the survival aspect is almost secondary, maybe even tertiary. Because especially once you get to like episode 3 and you get an expanded cast, it's really all about the interpersonal relationship and how you're going to keep their tiny little society functioning, and not so much like because they figure out how to get power turned back on fairly easily. It's not so much about that. It's how are they going to not kill each other. Yeah.
Well, in relationships, people want to pair off. They're going to restart the human race. I mean, that's a big part of it. Is
or go into a throuple at one point.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we should say by the end of the first episode, Will Forte is about to drive his truck into a rock. He even drew a bullseye on it. And right before he does, he sees smoke off in the distance. Now, barring the fact that there could be very few things that would cause smoke, naturally. Sure, things could burn in the middle of a goddamn desert. But it does give him, obviously that's a good sign that it might be somebody. Now, obviously it's a comedy, but I thought it was funny that he sees the smoke in the sky and like miles away, he drives over and it's like the tiniest little campfire with a pot of coffee over it, just burning wood, things that wouldn't make smoke at all, like a lot of smoke. Like you need wet wood and leaves and stuff. So I mean, obviously you give them that, it's a TV show, but I was like in my head when we first watched it, I was like, oh, somebody must set a fire to like catch attention, or maybe they're burning a town and he's gonna pull up thinking it's like bad guys or something. And you get there and it's this teapot, or coffee pot sitting on a tiny little campfire. I don't know why that made me laugh, but it certainly did.
Did you notice?
Yeah, you're right. When he sees the bra and realizes it's a woman, not just a guy, that's when everything kind of changes. Now the idea of population or Garden of Eden kind of crops up.
Yep. Did you notice right before he tries to kill himself, what is different in the truck?
No airbag.
No airbag. Such a nice
that makes sense. Yeah.
Nice little little detail that most people wouldn't even think of. They just have the scene where he's in there. It's like, no, because you could survive if you had the airbag. But and that's why he's not a complete loser, because he's at least smart enough to know if you're gonna kill yourself by doing this, take the airbag out of the truck.
I'm going to kill your theory right quick with this. He's not a loser, because his lowest moment was my favorite moment of the episode, is when he meets the woman in the display. He sees her at one point in time when he's around town, but then he goes back later after he's drinking with the crew.
To clarify, it's a mannequin of a woman, not a woman.
It is a woman as far as he's concerned.
Seen over and over again. Yeah, for months now, he's been seeing this mannequin in a window.
Smashes the glass in to get inside, and he goes, glass, or what is it, windows. That's his pickup. That's his first line. And I just thought,
that's
excellent.
I would have, just because they'd already done the Castaway, I certainly would have minded him. Maybe the thing to spur him to go to the windows if he had watched the movie Mannequin and then turned one of the balls and been like, you know what? You're right. There is that might be the impetus. I would have got a quick little giggle out of that. But let's talk about some of the weird things he does when he has the world to himself. Mm-hmm. First of all, he goes aquarium bowling balling, which is great. So he stacks all these aquariums up in a pyramid, loads the back. And of course, I would just think throw the bowling balls at it, but he loads a bunch of bowling balls up in the back of his truck and then reverses the truck to fling all the bowling balls. And then of course gets out and picks up the spares by himself. I like that he plays car bowling, where he pushes one car down a large ramp into other cars or another car.
So much
and
fun.
I like that perfect where they just established him bowling. The little joke of him pushing the car, but then he kicks his leg back like a bowler releasing the ball, and he's kind of controlling the car like to the left, exactly like a bowler would do with a giant car. I thought it was just a great, beautiful comedic touch, but it wouldn't have worked as well without the little previous scene of the bowling balls where he's not bowling. It really paired well together.
What would you do in that situation?
Oh man. I think I would break all glass. Like it would that's the best part is like, you have to maintain stuff for yourself, but anything that's not helping you, there's a lot of fun in destruction. And I think you take a lot of anger and desperation out on the entire, world.
I think I would spend my time getting cars and driving them off of the Grand Canyon and see how high I could get them.
You know what? That would be fun. I would just want to see maybe how far you can get them. I don't know how you would measure that. But yeah, that actually seems like a really good idea. Thelma and Louise, the shit out at the end of the world. Well, I guess with you getting out and you're a man with your penis. It says.
There was so many great moments on this show, but I'm kind of curious. Was there any bad moments that anybody saw? Anything that didn't work for them?
No.
No.
Good.
So to get back to the good parts.
Moving on.
So here's to the good parts. I like that he obviously is going to the bathroom, but they were smart enough to go, you can only run the toilet a few times before without water.
You get the water.
If most people don't know, the water in your house works by gravity. So that big, thing outside, the water silo, that's a reserve, but everything else runs by just sheer downward pressure. But after water gets to a certain level, it stops working. So eventually all your plumbing just doesn't have the pressure to literally come out of the pipes. So to fill up a toilet, you just like when we had that snowstorm in Texas a while back, they told you fill up the top of your tank with snow and water. So you can see all these 5-gallon water bottle jugs around that keep accumulating as he's having to poop, because that's the only way you can flush the poop out. And then finally, when it's so bad, one of the funniest things I've seen is he goes out to the pool after promising, obviously, to God to take care of this place from the last owners. He's so grateful for it. He fills up the pool with trash, and it's just stagnant, nasty water. He cuts a hole in the diving board and just sits and poops out of the diving board while reading papers.
Saddest thing I've ever seen.
It's so sad and pathetic, yet somewhat clever, because I don't know that I would have thought of that. I would have like hovered or grabbed like a rope or something and tied it to a tree and dangled. And I'm like, no, that's so much more clever. The margarita bath pool. We can talk about that for a second. He just, obviously all the liquor in the world's available to him. So he goes on a spree loading up with all these stale stuff. And I remember the first time I was watching this, I was thinking, why doesn't he grab any of the perishables? Those are going to go bad first. But then I remembered he's already spent months to, if not a year, driving around the country. There's no more perishables anywhere. So he's everything is now gas. Yeah, that's the other thing is because when the pumps are working, because the generators will only run so long with the gas in the town, you have to drive further and further away and bring more and more back. So eventually that's
it goes bad.
Too. Yeah, well, you can take longer, but yes, you're right. Eventually it does.
I think there is a limited time. That too. Yeah.
Okay. So all he has left is perishables. So he raids grocery stores and stuff, eating bags of chips. But obviously one thing that lasts pretty much forever is alcohol. So and what are you going to do when you have no interaction with anybody else? There's a lot of drinking. So one of the things is he fills up a kiddie pool. I love that in the background, there's the real pool that is now filled up brimming with trash, like 10 feet out of the pool and stagnant water. Next to it, he puts a little kiddie pool and fills it with tequila and vodka and rum and everything, climbs into it in a hoodie, rims the edge with salt, and then just begins like turning his head and lightly licking up the tequila off his shoulder. The most pathetic drink I think I've ever seen. Was fantastic. I lost it at that the first time.
No way I put that pool in the back. That pool goes in the front yard where everything is not trash infested and flies everywhere. I at least move it to the front yard before I sit in it.
Why it was so close to his rubbish pile, I don't understand. Or why he wasn't throwing stuff away next door is so weird to me. Although I guess, you got all the houses, just use up a house till it's gone and move next door. Yeah, there's no point. Then you got to move all your stuff though. I think I'd cross the street to poop and then come back. I don't want to move all that stuff again. But even at the end of the world, I think I'd be very, very lazy about what I want to get done.
I'd take over a school.
Why that? Why a school?
Multiple rooms, lots of plumbing. There you can use more resources there before you have to move on, as opposed to a house.
And you can have a locker.
You got the concrete walls. You can't you can't put anything up. All you got those concrete walls that they have in every school in America.
Well, I mean that if you find out that you're really not the last man on earth, that's kind of a good thing to have then.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I could see turning that into a bunker or something. That would make a lot of sense. Yeah. Or like, you're right. Once you get a whole bunch of people, putting in something like that. But then why not go to a hotel, with lockable doors and keypads like that? I could see that.
Like that. Yeah.
That would make, I could see that, because then you could just turn a whole room into a garbage dump, or a whole floor into a garbage dump / poop den.
I love that they even gave the little detail that he's staying in a very small apartment whenever we first see him. And he's like, why am I doing this? And then he moves over to the giant house. Like, what's the mentality of being in that place in the first place? Maybe that was his original apartment. I don't know. But I really like they gave it extra touch like that.
That's what I assumed, is he went back just to his regular life and then was like, this is stupid. I also love that they started with one of my favorite bands ever, Ape Man by the Kinks. So I just thought that, what a great, he's having to revert back with this big giant beard and everything. And first of all, that's one of my favorite rock albums of all time is Lola versus the Power Man, the merry-go-round, the money-go-round. But that's one of my favorite songs on that album. And it's so catchy and fun and lighthearted about humans not being that different from animals. So what a great song to pick. And then my other favorite part is when he's drinking wine and he says, this is the 10th to God. He goes, this is a $10,000 bottle of wine. You see that? That was a $400 sip. It pairs really well with the SpaghettiOs. he's eating Cheese Whiz. So it's SpaghettiOs,
Yeah.
99-cent Cheese Whiz, and a $10,000 bottle of wine, because there's no point even enjoying anything to him anymore. It's all passé now, Even the finer things he's done with.
I didn't ask you guys if you could pick any city in America that you could go to.
Tucson.
Well, yeah, definitely not Tucson, but nobody's there. What city are you picking?
Certainly not some in the desert. That just makes no sense to me. That's what I couldn't figure out. The resources are going to be harder to deal with. Maintaining water, maintaining a garden. You have to drive so much further to get to any kind of infrastructure once that in the city runs out. That was the one thing that's like made zero sense to me, other than it was his hometown. Obviously, you'd want something kind of midway between everything. You'd want to be by a large body of, ideally, like clean water. So I'm thinking something like Michigan, or a large body of water that you can get to. You could raid 2 different countries then if you can get across the water. But then again, you also, if you're by the ocean, that's just going to be more comfortable temperature wise throughout the entire year. And near tropics, you're going to be able to grow a lot more fruits and vegetables for longer. So I'd say it, but maybe even something like Florida, Lower California just makes sense. And you don't have to deal with Florida people. See, that's the nice part, is it just goes back to being the land of flowers, not.
But you do have to deal with hurricanes.
You know what? That's true, but not on the West Coast. You don't have nearly the amount of weather agitation on the West Coast as you do on the East Coast.
Okay, Matt, I've got
maybe
the correct
lower
answer.
Mexico, maybe upper Mexico, lower California.
Oh, Dell's getting there. I've got the correct answer. Let me see if I can beam it into your head. Do you know the correct answer to my question?
Denver.
San Diego, but Denver is a good one too.
No, San Diego.
Denver would be pretty good. That actually makes sense.
It's a moderate climate. If there's any issue with, fresh water from
great clean
any
water,
nearby rivers, you can go up to the mountains, and there's a glacier.
Also good soil for growing. Well, good soil for growing, and there's
300
lots
days
of
of sunshine.
Yeah, and you do want the cold because a lot of plants has to go through a cold season to reset their seeding.
Yeah.
So sometimes that can actually be really, really good for certain plants.
Also, let's not forget that when you have a winter, it kills off bugs. And then if you're the last person on Earth, you don't have to deal with, worrying about malaria or West Nile,
My hips hurt in the cold. You're not getting me to move there. End of story.
Okay, I can understand that. With arthritis, if you're less on Earth, maybe that would be the reason. Also, the altitude, I guess. I don't need to be winded everywhere until I acclimatize.
There you go.
But I also think that I just would enjoy the water and the beach. Because if I'm going to be by myself, I think I would want to be out on the beach. I love the mountains. Don't get me wrong. The only thing that beats that is a nice breeze blowing in off the ocean, and plus lots of fish. You're never going to run out of fish from the ocean, where you might, I highly doubt it, over hunt or fish in an area like Denver. I don't see one person doing that. But I don't know. I just think if I'm going to do it, I'd rather be out on the beach with unlimited surfboards and for a while sea-doos.
The problem is fresh water.
Speedboats.
Fresh water is the biggest problem out there.
Well, there's a lot of vain people out in California, so I think you'd have just as much bottled water probably around LA as you would artisanal bottled water.
That goes bad too. I mean, if you're playing the long game,
you're talking.
Dasani water does not go bad.
Honestly,
yes, it does.
Yeah, it's when people talk about leaching, that's something that happens over the course of decades. And all you have to do to stop that is move it. One, not keep it in sunlight, because it's blue light that actually breaks that down. So as long as you kept the water in a dark environment and ideally somewhat cool, bury it. You that would last for hundreds of years. But I guess for instance, all the water on the shelves in a supermarket, once the lights went out and there's no UV light, those are going to be fine for a good long time.
Also, just going to name 3 things that take California off the table.
Yes.
Because again, you are that's funny. Because again, don't forget, you're supposed to be alone, right? Earthquakes.
Yeah.
Wildfires, mudslides. Those 3 things alone.
Okay. But those things destroy a lot of infrastructure. If you're living on a hut on the beach, there's tsunamis.
Where do
usually
you
hit
think
the west?
Where do you think the stuff sloughs off from? It all hits the beach.
From the mountains. That's what I'm saying. It comes down, but it doesn't hit the beach. It comes down normally.
Yeah, it does.
I'm just saying that,
Matt,
Yeah,
how many
time,
times
like,
did you have to?
well, that's true.
How many times did PCH get closed down because of a mudslide? And PCH is right next to the what? The what? The ocean.
Welcome to Science Hour with Matt and Melody. This has been another science episode. I'm just
Maybe
kidding.
somewhere Montana would be good.
The correct answer is still San Diego. I don't care what anybody says. That's the correct answer. But that means that we're at the end of the episode. I think that we all say check mark to this, so we don't have to ask that question. So I will ask Matt this question. Thanks for coming on the show. Where can the people find you if they like to find you?
I am on Twitter and Instagram. Usually it's Media Arts and Talent, Media Arts Talent on Twitter. I'm everywhere. You can find me. Just search my name.
OnlyFans?
It got taken down for violation of terms of service.
Show those
he was literally posting fans. I got all these fans, folks. I'm lousy with these fans. Someone did
it was
crazy
only
Matt's
pictures
fans.
of fans. Right.
I'm only fans Matt, and I'm lousy with these metal fans. Come and take them.
Well, I'm going to do that idea now.
Meanwhile, my metal fan site, which is heavy metal girls doing pornography, got taken down too.
Ridiculous what they're doing to the internet nowadays. Dale, tell the people where they can find us if they want to find us.
You can find us just by going to pilotpasspod.com. That is where we've been slowly uploading some stuff. We vlog, and that's also a collection of all of our social media. So you can check us out on the gram, the Facebooks, the Twitteries, links to YouTube. Also, make sure to check us out. Obviously, the podcast. Apple iTunes Store is the biggest store. That's still where 80% of people get their stuff. So if you could leave a review on Apple, no matter where you listen, that's a big help for us. Obviously, give us 5 stars because we deserve it, and you know that, you sons of bitches.
Say you like it, even if you didn't.
See. Yeah, say you like it even if you didn't. I will mail you $1. The dollar they send me yes, I'll mail somebody $1 now.
It's actionable. Don't say that.
He's got a lot of monopoly,
but I can't help it. But I can't help it if people in between steal that $1, and
I am not affiliated with Dell in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, now we're getting to federal.
I didn't also say it would be an American dollar. It could be a Dell dollar. I will send you $1 Dell dollar if you put to make this clear legally.
So you're going to spend 55 cents to mail something that is worth nothing.
No, it's like Bitcoin. It's digital. I send you an email with 1 digital Dell dollar. It's a triple D, as we call it.
Everybody
it's
gets
backed by
Usher dollars. Just like in the strip club.
On, say it right.
Usher dollars.
If it's actionable, then can I say, if you give us a 5-star review, our friend Matt Thornbury will send you $1. Is that actionable?
No, in the show there. In the show there.
Not doing it.
Okay, so yeah, check us out, Pilot Pass Pod. Check us out on anywhere you can get your your normal podcast. Of course, leave us some reviews, 5 stars, but then also check us out on YouTube. We put a small picture up, we throw it up on YouTube. That's the only way you can watch it. It certainly helps us to watch it on there too. It still counts for our numbers, folks.
That's all we got.